Welcome to AmericanFreePress.net. I'm AFP Roving Editor Mark Anderson, and we're here at the Grove in Watford, England, right in the wake of the 2013 Bilderberg meeting. It's quite a stately place, but darker forces have been at work here lately as the 2013 Bilderberg meeting was held here June 6 through 9. And reporting on this has been quite the challenge, but in cooperation with the UK column, the Sovereign Independent, Liberty Tactics, and others, AFP has done very deep and broad perspective coverage of the 2013 Bilderberg meeting. And now seeing the place, you kind of get a sense of what the atmosphere is like here in this beautiful rural countryside in the UK. And the Bilderbergers, of course, were here talking about many things. We strongly suspect the United States of Europe refitting the European Central Bank to be the lender of last resort like the Federal Reserve, a North American-European free trade agreement that kind of goes hand in hand with the budding Trans-Pacific Partnership in a Pacific Union, and other things that the Trilaterals, a brother group of the Bilderbergers, and the Bilderbergers themselves, among other globalist groups, have discussed. Now I'm kind of moving along here in the very attractive grounds here at the Grove, and we're coming out to a very interesting area, kind of a clearing, and it shows an interesting statue that is considered a symbol of transhumanism. It's half man, half machine, and the cameraman's going to kind of focus on that for a moment, and it's crawling through the water. Now many have wondered what this is about, but it's clear to see that it's a rather macabre and dystopian kind of figure, and that it represents the transformation of humanity going through some sort of technocratic era. And I believe the technocratic era was what Zbigniew Brzezinski, a longtime trilateralist who helped form the Trilateral Commission, talked about. And really, in that sense, this was the ideal place for the Bilderbergers to meet for their 62nd meeting since first meeting in 1954, because it really symbolizes the high technology, the involvement of Google, the involvement of LinkedIn. In recent years, all these techie companies getting involved with the old line, old money Bilderbergers like the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and Henry Kissinger, and really joining forces to talk about the dystopian future that they're planning for us unless we intervene. Of course, they run on the usurious money system. The fact that their confreres are at the helm of creating money and credit at interest is really what powers them. That's really what's inside their transmission. If that's pulled out, they can no longer dominate, because that's the fuel, the ultimate source, the fountainhead of their domination. So that's one of the fundamental things to keep in mind as Bilderberg continues to meet every year. But ultimately, we don't want that to happen. Former Congressman Jim Traficant, for example, wants to very soon, here in mid-June, very soon, institute a Freedom of Information Act inquiry to see what U.S. federal government departments have any public money spent in any way, shape, or form, no matter what amount, associated with Bilderberg. That's one concrete thing that can be done. That can be done in other countries too. And while keeping in mind the way that they run the money system for their ultimate power, we can also continue to raise the awareness, as happened here in Watford. Now, interestingly, as I summarize, we had more people than ever in Watford, well over 3,000 through the June 6 through 9, 2013 Bilderberg meeting, and we can all be glad for those sheer numbers. But the Fringe Festival also encouraged and gave the regular media here, the mainstream media, reasons to kind of belittle Bilderberg critics. Yes, there was some objective reporting, there was some acknowledgement that maybe the Bilderberg thing is a little shady, but despite the quantity of reporting and the number of people, the seriousness of the Bilderberg group didn't clearly come across. But here at American Free Press and other media I've worked with in the UK, we do keep the seriousness of the Bilderberg meetings front and center. We look for solutions. There's the Traficant Initiative. There's the reporting that I'm continuing in the tradition of the late Jim Tucker to keep getting at the real sinew of what they're discussing and what they're planning. And all that combined can lead to the kind of exposure, the kind of transparency that leads to the end of the Bilderberg meetings, not simply pseudo-transparency that allows them to kind of act like they're being open, but really to continue their secretive, privatized government really infinitely, if you will, or ad infinitum. And that's what we don't want to see. We don't want to see these things continue forever. So with that, thanks for listening. I'm Mark Anderson with American Free Press.